Would you rather have a whole grape or a slice of a watermelon? And that's what the idea of abundance is, and the idea of not necessarily competing with everybody, but collaborating where we can.
Welcome to King Moves. In chess, the king moves one step at a time, but that single move can change everything. Each week, we explore mindset shifts and simple actions that could lead to the next breakthrough in your business and life. I'm your co-host, Ethan King, from Atlanta, Georgia, USA. Entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, and best-selling author of Wealth Beyond Money.
And I'm your co-host, Justin King, no relation to Ethan, from Cape Town, South Africa. Entrepreneur, speaker, and business growth strategist. Our journey crosses continents and cultures as we think out loud, challenge assumptions, and uncover the small moves that create big momentum. Welcome to King Moves. Let's start the conversation.
All right, so Justin, I was at a conference a couple of weeks ago, and I heard a term that I'd never heard before. It's called Mudita, Mudita. It is a Sanskrit and Pali word that means joy in the joy of others. And the way I interpret it, it replaces jealousy. So instead of being jealous of someone else, you truly find happiness in the joy of others. Their joy makes you happy. And it's an interesting concept because I know as humans, we have a tendency to feel envy or jealousy. It's part of the human experience. But how do you replace that with happiness for the other person, genuine happiness for the other person? So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, your experiences. I kind of have an approach of my own. Something that I tweeted years ago that actually got a lot of retweets is I replace envy with inspiration. So me personally, when I see someone who has something that I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, man, I would love to have that. Then instead of being jealous, I think to myself, well, I'm inspired by them. I want to learn from them. Like it literally fires me up and gets me excited. But I feel like that's not a common approach that most people have.
So the first thing that comes to mind when you mention the word mudita is I expected you to follow it up with like an evil laugh, because it sounds like a new villain from a movie or an animated movie that's coming out. Mudita definitely is. But I love the word. I mean, well, I love the word. I love the meaning. Finding joy in others' joy, or finding joy, genuine joy in others' success. And yeah, I know you use the word now, replace or reframe. That for me is the difficult part. Is it's one thing to want something, but we can't just click our fingers and then just replace it in our way of thinking, or replace it in the way we live. There's a bit of a process, and it happens over time. And I was just looking again, just diving into it a little bit deeper, what the meaning is. And the line that really stood out to me was Mudita, instead of feeling threatened by somebody else's success, Mudita celebrated. So that threatened is an interesting word. And that's probably where I would go personally if I wanted to live Mudita more often than not. And I like to think that is usually my default, but I am only human. I've got ego. I've got a little imposter syndrome that sits with me every now and again. And that definitely can make me feel threatened at times, I suppose. And I'm just trying to think of the context where I may be paying lip service to saying, oh, well done, giving it a clap, giving it a smile. But part of me is thinking, man, why did you get that? And I didn't get that. I mean, I've worked just as hard as you have. And I've done X, Y, and Z too. And people seem to recognize you, but they don't recognize me. Why is that? So I think that I'm just kind of speaking out loud and thinking out loud here, but that's probably where I would personally need to start, is when the ego is feeling threatened, to notice that as a moment to lean into actually practicing real mudita. Why am I feeling threatened? Why can I not just honestly be happy and joyful for this person's joy that they're experiencing, genuinely happy for this person's success? Like I say, I think most of the time I'm authentic and I'm genuine that I do. But absolutely, there's times where I'm also a little bit, yeah, man, Justin's ego wants to be fed. Why not me?
You know, that word threatened implies that something is going to be taken away from you, or you feel like something is going to be taken away from you, or you're going to be harmed in some way. But when I think about the success of others, usually their success doesn't harm me. I can't think of a situation where that has been the case. I mean, one can think about sports, like when you're younger and you're playing sports, unless you're a professional athlete now as an adult. But usually we played sports when we were younger, if you're playing intramural sports, there's a winner and there's a loser. So the other person's victory means your defeat. So feeling threatened really applies in a situation like that. But in the real world, I think that it's a fallacy that this idea of lack, even in a business context, when you have competitors, there's so much business to go around. For example, you and I are both public speakers, but I don't think we feel threatened by each other, obviously. So I think to go at it with a sense of abundance instead of a sense of lack is the right approach to have.
Yeah, you've taken the conversation in the direction that I was thinking as well. I think a way to kind of articulate or better explain what I was saying earlier is probably and then approaching those instances and thinking that there is only X amount of success in the world, or there's only X amount of success possible in this moment or in this area, or there's only X amount of joy that's available in this particular instance. And that feeling of being threatened would be if somebody else takes a big bucket scoop out of that pile of success or pile of joy. Is it robbing me of the opportunity of having some of it, or is it decreasing the likelihood of me having any of it? I agree. I like where this is going. It is. It kind of goes back to how does one embrace this idea of abundance? Abundance in opportunity, abundance in success, abundance in joy, abundance in relationships, abundance in what you can receive from others with regards to how they're going to feed that joy back to you when you have your wins, because that's also a massive part of it. I mean, it's wanting to be able to receive the same as what you are doing in that moment of Mudita. So
Yeah.
abundant. Yeah, I suppose, and I'm really speaking to myself here, but that would be my challenge to myself, is just to approach more in my life with this idea of there is an abundance. Do not be shy to share.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think of the king move to give people here, other than just change how you think and approach life with an attitude of abundance. But I will give an experience share. I have a young lady who is a competitor of mine in a business sense, technically, because we're both in the fraternity and sorority apparel business in the US. Now, I've known this person for years. In fact, maybe she listens to this podcast. If she does, her name is Tina. Hey, Tina, we're great friends. We have this approach to business where it's collaboration over competition. And even though there's some overlap, and yeah, maybe she's taken a few customers from me that could have done business with me. Maybe I've taken a few from her, but we've collaborated on some projects over the years. And also I invited her to one of my AI workshops, and I helped her leverage AI to craft the marketing in it's for another business of hers, but I helped her craft the marketing messaging around this business, and she had been wrestling with it for a long time. And I told her how to use her authentic voice with AI to get that messaging out. And Justin, when I tell you, she was in tears by the end of the workshop. She is crying happy tears of joy and thanking me. I have it on video, actually. It's on my website. And she's saying, like, I've been struggling with this for so long. Thank you so much. Like, this is so great. Now, this is a person who I could have looked at as, oh, this is a competitor. I have my gloves up, and I'm not going to help you in the slightest. Why would I help you with anything? But instead, we both have this spirit of abundance. And I think it has helped us both tremendously. If I have one wish, I just wish more people would have that type of attitude in life, instead of it has to be a win-lose situation. How can it be a win for all?
So my kind of final thought around it is Mudita is joy, finding joy in others' joy. But if we had to, for me, and I'm going back to me here because it's really resonated, the action that I need to take is, how can I proactively contribute to others' success so that there is joy on their side, and I can then also take joy in having help them with that as well, and played a part in that. Is a line that I love is, would you rather have a whole grape or a slice of a watermelon? And that's what the idea of abundance is, and the idea of not necessarily competing with everybody, but collaborating where we can. Would you rather have a whole grape or a slice of a watermelon? I'll take a slice of watermelon any day of the week.
Another thing that comes to mind is that famous Zig Ziglar quote: "You can have everything in life you want if you will just help other people get what they want." I heard that, I don't know, decades ago, and I've lived my life in that way. And it comes back to you, even if it doesn't come directly back to you, reciprocated from that same person. I believe that energy comes back to you from somewhere else in the universe. So that's a great quote. If you haven't heard that, Zig Ziglar: "You can have everything in life you want if you will just help other people get what they want."
I think that's the mic drop moment to end off the episode.
That's the king move. All right, Justin, we'll catch up next time.
Thanks, Ethan.
That's a wrap for today's episode of King Moves. Remember, in chess, like in business,
one right move can change everything.
Take today's action step, make your move, and build momentum.
If you found value in today's episode, share it with someone who's ready for their next breakthrough, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss our weekly conversations. Until next time.